Assalamualaikum ya akhi ya ukhti. Assalamualaikum ya akhi ya ukhti.
Hello, I'm Fitri Ansani. I will explain descriptive text and recount text. Descriptive text is a text which presents information about something specifically. Example: people, thing, place, or and etc. The generic structure of descriptive text. 1. Identification. Identification shows introducing a particular person, thing, or place. 2. Description. Description shows describing part, qualities, and characteristics. The language features of descriptive text are using present tense, using adverb, using action verb, and using special technical term. Now, we have an example of descriptive text about place. Tourism object, Jatim Park. Mostly descriptive texts are organized through two main elements of structure. They are identification and description. These two structural elements are used as follow. The first paragraph is identification. This paragraph shows what is the text about, what is the specific participant described in the text. From the first paragraph, we know that the text is about Jatim Park, a tourism object. The second, third, fourth, and the last paragraph are descriptions. Some paragraph to show how the place is look like, where is it located, how many parts are in the place, and what a value does the place have. From this part, we know Jatim Park is located at Jalan Kartika to Batu, East Java. Recount text. Recount text is a text which retells something that happened in the past and to tell a series of past events. Its purpose is either to inform or to entertain the audience. There is no complication among the participants, and that differentiates from narrative. The generic structure of recount text are orientation. Orientation show introducing the participant, place, and time. Event show describing series of events that happened in the past. Reorientation shows stating personal comment of the writer to the story. The language feature of the recount text are introducing personal participant, using chronological connection, using linking verb, using action verb, and then using simple past tense. Now we have example of recount text. The first paragraph is orientation. This part introducing the participant, place, and time. We know from this paragraph, the writer spent her holiday in Yogyakarta last week. The second and the third paragraph are events. It's describing series of events that happened in the past. And the last is reorientation, stating personal comment of the writer to the story. The statement is, "It was a very interesting vacation."
Narrative text. Example, the story of frogs. Orientation, there was a group of frogs. They were traveling through the woods and two of them fell into a deep pit. When the other frogs saw how deep the pit was, they told the two frogs that they were as good as that. The two frogs ignored the comments and tried to jump out of the pit with all the might. The other frogs kept telling them to stop, that they were as good as that. Finally, one of the frogs to heed to what the other frogs were saying and give up. So, what is the narrative text? Narrative text is a story with complication or problematic events, and it tries to find the resolutions to solve the problems. The purpose of narrative text is to amuse or to entertain the reader with a story. Okay, kind of generic structure. First is orientation. Second is complication. Third, resolution. And the last is reorientation or optional. Next, language features. First, using chronological range. Second, using action verb. And the last is using simple past. Procedure text is a text that shows a process in order. Its social function is to describe how something is completely done through a sequence of series. Generic structure of procedure text. First is the goal, two, the material, and third is the step by step. Language feature of procedure text. Naturally, using temporal conjunction, action verb, imperative sentence, and simple present tense. So you can see the example how to make an apple juice. So you can see where's the goal, the material, and the step by step from the text. Report text is a text which presents information about something. Is it as the result of systematic observation and analysis? A report text has two general structures, or general classification and description. And next is language feature. First, introducing group or general aspect. To using conditional logical connection. And third, using simple present tense. So see the example that has a paragraph to describing about panda. In the first paragraph is general classification, and the next paragraph are description.
Analytical exposition is a text that elaborates the writer's idea about the phenomenon surrounding. Its social function is to persuade the reader that something is the case. Generic structure of analytical exposition. Number 1, thesis. Introducing the topic and indicating the writer's position. Number 2, arguments. Explaining the arguments to support the right's position. Number 3, reiteration. Restating the right's position. Language features. Using modals, using action verbs, using thinking verbs, using adverbs, using adjective, using technical term, using general and abstract noun, and the last, using connectives or transition. Discussion text is defined as a text to present a problematic discourse. The problem will be discussed from different viewpoints. There are some supporting argument as well as against argument. A discussion text is commonly found in philosophical, historic, and social writing. The purpose of discussion text is given relating to the definition. Purpose: a discussion is used to present different opinions on a particular issue or topic. Is argument for and against, or positive and negative, or good and bad. The point is a balanced style of writing. The writer does not force his own opinion about the problematic issue. He gives a balanced point of view so the writer and reader eventually have clear steps and make the best decision. Generic structure of discussion text. Number 1, statement of issue, stating the issue which is to discuss. Number 2, list of supporting points, presenting the point in supporting the present issue. Number 3, list of constructive points, presenting other points which disagree to the supporting point. Number 4, recommendation, stating the right recommendation of the discourse. Language feature of discussion text. Introducing category of generic participant. Using a thinking verb, feel, hope, believe, etc. Using addiction, using addictive, constructive, and causal connection. Similarly, on the hand, however, and etc. Using modalities, must, should, could, may, and etc. Using adverb, using adverbial of manner, deliberately, hopefully, and etc.
Review text. Review text is an evaluation of a publications such as a movie, video game, musical compositions, book, a piece of hardware like a car, and etc. The generic structure of review text is orientations, evaluations, interpretative recount, and evaluative summations. The language feature review text is focused on particular participant, using adjective, using complex clauses, using metaphor language, and use simple present tense. We can see 4D example here of review text. News item text. News item is a text which informs readers about events of the day. The events are considered newsworthy or important. Generic structures of news item is main event, elaborations, and research of informations. The language feature of news item is focusing on circumstances, using material process, using verbal process, and using passive voice, and using past tense. We can see for the example here of news item text. The first paragraph for main event and the second paragraph for elaborations and the last paragraph for research of informations.
My name is Revado. I will explain about spoof text. Spoof text is the text which tells factual story happened in the past time with unpredictable and funny ending. Generic structure of spoof text. First, orientation. Orientation is introduction to the story's characters, the place where the story takes place, and the time when the story takes place. Usually, this information is put in the first paragraph. Second, events. Event is a series of events experienced by the characters of the story. This series of story is arranged chronologically based on the sequence of time or its role in supporting the integrity of the story. Third, twist. Twist is the unexpected ending of the story. A twist ending is a plot twist occurring near or at the conclusion of a story. An unexpected conclusion to a work of fiction that causes the audience to re-evaluate the narrative or characters, where in general there are three kinds of twists that are usually used by story writers. Language features are using past tense, using action verb, using adverb, and chronologically arranged. For instance, private conversation at the theater. Generic structure analysis of spoof text about private conversation. First, orientation. Introducing a writer's as point of view I, which is in a theater last week. Series of events. Some event happened relating to the participants. Event first, the other theater goers. Young men and young women were talking noisily. Event 2. The writer used physical language by turning around to the young man and young woman, told to not to make noise. Event 3. The writer used verbal language by saying, I could not hear a word. And the last, the twister. The young man misunderstood the writer's word and said, it's none of your business, it's a private conversation. Anecdote text. Anecdote text is text which retells funny and unusual incidents in fact or imagination. Its purpose is to entertain the readers. Generic structure of anecdotes. First, abstract. Second, orientation. Third, crisis. Fourth, reaction. And the last is coda. Language feature of anecdotes. Using exclamation words, using imperative, using rhetoric question, using action verb, using saying verb, using conjunction of time, using simple past tense, and using direct speech. Now, I'm going to show you the example for anecdote text. Blessing behind tragedy. Okay. Analysis of generic structure analysis from blessing behind tragedy. First, abstract. Everybody has a dream. You have and so do I. When the dream will come true, there is something wrong last minute before it. What will we feel? What will we do? Second, orientation. The Clark family lived in Scotland. They had dreamed to travel to America. They prepared well for their plan. Third, crisis. Few days before they went to America, his youngest son was bitten by a dog. It meant they were being quarantined. They had to forget their plan. Fourth incident. The family was full of disappointment and anger. The father was angry with his son and God. The family failed to travel to America and the father couldn't accept it. Fifth, coda. The father thanked to his son when he heard the ship sank. He thanked to God because of saving the family from sinking. He thought leaving behind the ship was not a tragedy, but a blessing.
Explanation text. Explanation text is a text which tells processes relating to forming of natural, social, scientific, and cultural phenomena. Explanation text is to say why and how about the forming of the phenomena. This is often found in science, geography, and history textbooks. There are two kinds of generic structure explanation text. The first is general statement, the second sequence explanation. So we can see the example of the explanation text. The first general statement and the second sequence explanation. The first general statement. It's stating the phenomenon issues which are to be explained. The first paragraph usually contains the topic of the essay being discussed, although not always a full paragraph only contains a general statement, but generally this initial information is given at the beginning of the paragraph. The second, sequence explanation. It's stating a series of steps which explain the phenomena. It has been stated above that the explanation text tries to answer and explains how and why an event or thing exists, occurs, and is formed. So in the second paragraph, the content of the explanation text usually contains the step that needs to be explained in order to answer how and why as in the term of explanation text. Hortatory exposition is a text which represents the attempt of the writer to have the addressee do something or act in a certain way. There are three kinds of generic structure of this text. The first is thesis, the second is argument, and the last is recommendation. We can see the examples here. The first is thesis. Thesis is a view can be true or false from the author of the text to be tested through evidence and argument. Usually, the thesis statement is placed in the first paragraph. And the second is argument. Test tools that often support the thesis that has been stated in the first paragraph. This argument can be in the form of scientific data, logical reasons, pictures, and graphics as a medium to determine whether the thesis in the first paragraph is true or false. And the last is recommendation. This is the essence of the hortatory text, an action that is recommended to be done or not to do after knowing some of the argument that has been represented in the previous paragraph. Recommendations are usually placed in the last paragraph. Even so, sometimes the element of this recommendation only appear with a few words in the form of advice. Sometimes they are not found at all.